Welcome back to the Weekly Wrap. We're here at Dockside at the Osaka Hokkaido Yacht Club, and I'm joined today by a panel of experts, which I guess is stretching it a bit. But Paul and David from The Edge and Bill and Aaron from Matrix Related. Well done, guys, firstly, and welcome to Osaka.
Thank you. Yeah.
Very good to be here.
Yes, very good to be here.
Long way from Melbourne, though.
It is. You float around for a few weeks, you don't see land and you're wondering if you're getting anywhere. But it is a long way, but it's just awesome to be here now.
Yeah, it was a long way, and we had, because of the cyclone, we had a couple of days off in Bundaberg, or 36 hours off in Bundaberg. Not really off, we were doing quite an amount of catch-up maintenance work while we were there.
How's it go? You have your head in the race, you're out there racing, all of a sudden you find yourself tied to a dock, and then you got to do it all again. How's that work?
Yes, it was quite different. Yeah, because like you say, you're in amongst the race and you're doing it hour by hour, and then all of a sudden it gets turned off unexpectedly, and it was an opportunity.
So it must mess with the head a bit.
Yeah, it does. You're sort of out of the stream again.
Any tricks for keeping the motivation up when you're out there? I mean, it's a long time at sea. You must be highs and lows during the race.
Yeah, good food helps. Made a big difference. We sort of put quite a lot of effort into our food, and an afternoon rum made a big difference. One of the lows, I'll touch on one of the lows. We had a pretty horrible time in the Solomon Sea, and at one stage there, Paul was making me sign out the kitchen knives. And when that was happening, he'd sit in the corner in the nav chair and go through the trauma pack and just reorganise it with the gloves on. I think he was a bit worried about me.
Well, I mean, how'd you cope, Paul?
Okay. Again, there's some pretty tough moments, particularly when you get towards the end. You sort of see the end in sight, and you have some frustrating days where you just get smashed on the nose with some big breeze, and you get nothing 2 hours later, and all you want to do is get there. And that's hard mentally to get through. If the race was another 3 weeks longer, you probably wouldn't worry about it so much. But when you're so close, you just want to get there. So, and I think the doldrums as well. That's another area where you sort of float around, just not going anywhere, and that's frustrating.
As
a wonderful gift from the Japanese called the Kuroshio current.
For those that don't know, the Kuroshio current runs about 3 knots, 4 knots, and loops around pretty much where you want to go.
Makes very steep sea.
That was, I'd have to agree. That was one of our lows again, as the guys spoke about, is the doldrums. The frustrating times, the breakages. That we had more breakages in the doldrums than we did in 40 knots, just because of the slapping backward and forward. And
Now, Aaron, you've done the race before with Bill. How's it compared to last time?
Look, I think we joined this race this time in a better headspace. We had a good understanding of what the race is about, what level we could push each other. We really had a clear focus on how to manage the boat. We hadn't sailed the boat a lot prior to the race, so very steep learning curve, but
Now, you got a lot of light air sailing practice, which paid off because the Osaka Bay was proving a bit challenging.
Yes, it did indeed prove challenging. Every you get a couple of hours of light, 3 to 5 knots, and then you get nothing for another couple of hours, and then another little burst of wind and from a different direction, and it was just like the guys said, it was a frustrating time coming up Osaka Bay.
Now, you guys were powering up though, weren't you?
We had a slightly different experience in the bay itself. Key Swedo, the outer bay, we had the lights, but once we got into Osaka Bay, we were flying under kite, so that was some of the best runs we had actually. Had to pull the kite down in a hurry because we were looking for a big jibe in front of a small tanker that was coming and causing us a bit of grief, and we're going to go onto the bad side with the rigging, so that was a good drop. Perhaps not our best.
Well, luckily no one's there to see that, but there were a lot of people there to see you finish. I was amongst them. It was a great finish. So how did that feel?
Oh, look, the finish, the sensation, the emotion that's driven as you cross the finish line is enormous. Seeing friends and family, new friends and old, once again is a magnificent feeling, and you just cannot understand, cannot imagine how incredible the welcome is. Coming into the dockside, there's just people cheering, and it's absolutely awesome.
Now, you guys got the water feature welcome with the fire. How did that look?
I think the water feature was probably for Bartholomew, but we tagged in just on the end of that, it was a great finish. We were in the last half of Osaka Bay when we started to get some breeze, and we could see ourselves catching them on the AIS, and we were checking every 10 minutes. We were checking how much closer we were, and we were closer and closer and didn't quite make it.
It was close. We were watching as well. Bated breath. It was fantastic. Talk about the hospitality up at the club here. Give some of the people following the race an insight into that.
Well, you'll notice that I'm not wearing sunglasses and these guys are. So I think that tells you how well the hospitality's going. It's been absolutely amazing. Again, hearing stories from people who've done this race before, you get a picture of what you're kind of expecting, but until you be here and get here and meet the people, and it's just overwhelming. It really is. Everyone just lays out the red carpet. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. It is very much like that. They treat you as nearly as royalty. The people that have done the race. I think they really respect the efforts of the competitors.
Fair enough. Look, we're going to leave you with a couple of questions. One, and I hope the answer is yes. Would you recommend the race to anyone else out there?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Get a big boat. And do the race with a good friend. Yeah, for sure. I couldn't recommend it highly enough for people that really enjoy a challenge, because it is exactly that. But it's a challenge well worth undertaking.
And obviously, good friendship. You guys have just hung together the whole time, even since you've been here. And obviously, the friendship's very strong between not only yourselves but all the competitors.
Yeah. No, I think the race. At the end, and it was the same in 2003. All the competitors really bonded, and I've kept in contact with many of the competitors from the 2003 race, and I'll hope to do exactly the same this time.
Yeah. It's that shared adversity thing where you go through something very difficult, and that gives you a bond with other people.
Fantastic bond indeed. Look, thanks for joining us today. Now, while it's good to celebrate the finish, we've still got a lot of competitors on the water, and one of the competitors with the most miles to go is Blue Water Tracks. We spoke to Grant and Sue to see how they're getting on.
We're currently about 80 nautical miles north of Truck Lagoon. At the moment, the boat's going around in circles. We're probably going to be like this now for the next 6 hours or so. The trade is desperately trying to get to about 60 miles to the north of us. Literally 3 days now, which of course has been, as you can imagine. We're cooking up, we have pizzas, we do a cake every now and then, and yesterday we had coffee skulls. So we're certainly enjoying that side of the trip.
One thing to know is that just how many people are watching you and hanging off your posts and wishing you well, because you've got that determination of just getting there, which is a fantastic story.
I'm about to put a post up later today on Facebook, and one of the things that we'll be talking about in that post is how when we came out of Pioneer Channel, which is known as the Gate by the Ocean Racing, we got the weather report, and it was showing literally 620 miles of doldrums. And I think Sue and I looked at each other and we just thought, oh God, this is like going to be an impossible task. We're already, 10 days behind the rest of the fleet, and now we're going to go into this massive big hole, and we could be in there anywhere from 1 week to 2 or 3 weeks, and that'll put us sometime up in Osaka June at the rate we're going. So it's been a bit of a battle, but it's actually been quite a good learning experience, as I talk about in the post. But we certainly are very determined to get there, that's for sure.
Hi Martin, how you going?
Sue, I'm great. Welcome along. I know you've had a lot to deal with. How's the boat going now? You've got the problems behind you?
Oh, good. Yeah, everything's really good. We do obviously the routine boat check every day around the boat, and every couple of days we get all the sails out of the sail locker and double check down there, and we've been checking our steering every few days as well. So everything looks really good. It's all dry up in the bow, which is nice, and the steering, Grant keeps tweaking things that might get caught or something, and putting sticker over bolts and stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of redundancy going on to make sure nothing else goes wrong.
Any highlights you want to share with us, Sue?
yesterday I opened a card for my daughter. That was a highlight. Seeing the moon set as the sun rises, that's always good. I really like that. And then just seeing the miles count away, like when we have a good day and we knock off some miles.
Well, the miles are counting down gradually. You've had a light patch, as Grant was saying, but you've got the trade winds to look forward to.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to them. We're really looking forward to like healing and going. Yeah.
All right.
But they just seem very elusive. Every time we get weather, they just seem out of our reach.
Well, look, you'll get there, Sue. We're really proud of you both, and the Osaka's waiting to put on a big welcome for you.
Cheers. Thanks, Martin.
Simon Dryden here. We're just going to have a quick look at the fleet, and we can see Utopia's moving in some good speed in the right direction. Blue Water Track's struggling for traction at the moment, not much wind, so they're showing backwards, but they're actually going forwards. Lord Jiminy has been picked up and is BA is taking her home. Force 11 is slowed down a bit, and the cluster we're going to have a look at today is this little cluster of our next finishes. Don't forget, we've got Runaway and Spirit quite close to Osaka now, should finish today with a bit of luck. So if we have a look at this little mob, we've got Maverick, Mr. Lucky, who have taken the western route, Red Jacket more in the middle, Electra and Kraken the middle route, and the one I just want to focus on a little bit here is Surf Dude. And if we have a look at Surf Dude and we go to this particular part and we show the positions, and if we look back here, you can see each of these dots represent 2 hours. So this boat went through here and spent 2 hours there, another 2 hours there, another 2 hours here. So they basically spend 6 hours going around in circles. So any of you who are planning to do the Osaka race, these are kind of some of the frustrations that you have to contend with. So anyway, we're plotting, we're going to look at the weather now, and I've put Mr. Lucky in as our particular boat that we're going to have a look at. So we'll go and have a quick look at it. And so here is just an indication of the currents. So this is the Kirishiro current that runs past Japan here. This starts at about 31, 32 degrees north, and our boat down here is at 28 north. So got couple of 100 miles before they start to get in the current, and then as we get close to Osaka, you can see the current is less and much more over the place. But how you cross this is going to be important. Alright, if we go and have a look at the weather routing for this particular thing, is that if we scroll, well, we'll just go out a little bit so we can see it, and you can see that they're in quite light easterly winds and not much help at this stage. So we'll just play the model, and you can see the boats moving along and there's not much change in the weather. So keep going, and we're still getting just a bit more the wind following them, so that makes it worse for the boats, slower, and we can see now they're in a little bit of increased flow, and we're hopeful that this wind over here out to the west is going to come over them. So as we can see, they're starting to get into 10 knot flow here, and then as they get a little bit further, this half thing here means 15 knots. So we've got 15 knots, and we've got some 25 knot winds from here coming. So as we can see, the advantage for this fleet, they're going to have a really fast finish. And so looking at the models here, it's going to give them a really speedy run in through the bay. But as we get up towards the bay, the advantage is that if this model plays out, is you can see they're approaching the outer harbour on Thursday morning, and so that gives them a good shot at finishing that afternoon with the vagaries of Osaka harbour. So if we keep playing the models, you can see the boats coming into the harbour, and it will be really interesting to see how they go.
Okay, thanks, Simon. Look, thanks, guys. We're going to enjoy the evening. We've got 2 boats coming in tonight. No doubt another party. So we'll see you up there.
See you there.
Thank you.
Thank you.